7 books in 7 days. Crazy, I know, but I'm actually really excited to see if we can pull this off. So here's the plan. I'll be tackling 1 book each day, doing my best to power through them. And some of these books are on the shorter side, but thankfully they're all under 300 pages. And not to toot my own horn, but we got a pretty good lineup. Let me go get the books for you. Do you see the fall fit? Do you see it? Now, this is actually 8 books, but I can't figure out which one to get rid of. So this is what we got. The first one is The Vegetarian. Now, I heard that this one is a little bit scary because it talks about cannibalism, so I'm not sure how eager I am to read this, but I still think it's a good option. The next one up is Shopgirl. I haven't heard a lot about this, but I heard that it's really good. Then this one I'm very excited about. This is Carmilla. Now, this is the book that Dracula was based off of, so I feel like this is perfect for the fall season. Then I have The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I heard this is very sad. It's probably gonna make me cry, but I've always wanted to read it. Then This Is How You Lose the Time War. Everyone talks about how good this book is. I just need to read it at this point. I don't care. This one! I am so excited about this one. What Moves the Dead. This is based off one of Edgar Allan Poe's very famous poems, but it's like a new rendition of it. So I'm just so excited. And this cover gets me every time. It is so beautiful. What the heck? We probably have to read that on day 2 or something. Then I have Tuesdays with Morrie. Now I've heard nothing but good things about it. I do know it's probably going to make me cry, and I did read the first 10 pages and I was already getting like a little emotional. So I know that this is going to be a life-changing book. And last but not least is Mrs. Dalloway. This is a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. I've wanted to read this forever, but I just haven't gotten the chance to. And now we have 8 books to choose from. I don't know which ones we're gonna pick. I know for a fact today I want to read Tuesdays with Morrie. I just want to read this so bad. We're definitely gonna read How to Lose the Time War. We're definitely reading Carmilla, as well as What Moves the Dead. Definitely The Ocean at the End of the Lane. These are the last ones. Which 2 should I pick? It's The Vegetarian, Shopgirl, and Mrs. Dalloway. I need to read Mrs. Dalloway, right? Okay, we're gonna read Shopgirl for sure. This sounds very scary. I don't know if I want something very scary at the moment. I think we're gonna read Mrs. Dalloway. We can read The Vegetarian in October. So there we have it, folks. These are the books we're gonna be reading, and we're gonna start with this. I love coming to this park every time the weather changes because it's so beautiful. There's so many trees, so you get to see all of them change as the weather changes. Now I know this is just the very beginning of fall and the leaves still look like they're summer leaves, but I'm still here for the vibes. Anyway, our first book is Tuesdays with Morrie, as we talked about. I'm so excited to read this. It's already making me really emotional, and it's not that long, but I heard that it has a lot of good life lessons. Now, this follows a student and his teacher. His teacher was like his favorite professor in college, and at the end of school, he's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to keep in touch with you." But then he moves on, life happens, and then of course they lose touch. But towards the end of the professor's life, the student finds him again. And so he takes his final class with the professor, and the professor is basically giving him all the life lessons he acquired throughout his own life. And it just is so beautiful. It is such a beautiful story. Again, I'm only 10 pages in, but I've already highlighted so much, and I'm excited to see what else I learn. I wanted to start this first book outside anyway because I just needed fresh air. And I think that with a book like this that's probably going to make me cry or reflect on life, it would be nice to have something beautiful to look at besides my couch. So here we are. I also matched my bag with my outfit. Not perfectly, but this is the best we could do. This is one we used in our last bookstore vlog, but I really love it. And I brought some water and extra batteries because I don't know how long I'm going to be yapping out there. All right, let's go. This story is so good. I'm like trying not to cry. It's just incredible to see his professor going through this horrendous disease. He has ALS. He's about to pass away. But with ALS, it's a very slow-moving disease. So your body slowly stops working. Your legs, your arms, your muscles, everything. And then he's eventually going to suffocate and his lungs are no longer going to work. And yet he continues to be so positive and give so many life lessons, like the stark contrast in those two things are insane. And he's making jokes about how he's going to die, but how this is almost a blessing as well, because not everyone is so lucky to have a death where he can use his time wisely, see friends, talk to family, and really be present in every moment and make every moment a gift, which is just so profound. Like, that's just such an interesting way to take that. And he was saying as well, like, yeah, I'm also human though. Like, when I wake up in the morning, I cry about what I'm losing. Like, I cry about losing mobility and being able to go to the bathroom on my own, being able to do anything on my own. He's completely dependent on his nurses now. And he's saying that despite all of that, I'm still happy. Like, I give myself a few minutes in the morning to mourn myself, put a cap on it, and then move on with my day. And that's just so beautiful. Like, we should all have a cap on our self-pity. And that's what he said in the book too. And I was like, yeah, that is so right. That is absolutely right. And there's this one quote that really stuck out to me. It said, "The most important thing in life is to learn how to give out love and to let it come in." His voice dropped to a whisper. Let it come in. We think we don't deserve love. We think that if we let it in, we'll become too soft. But a wise man named Levine said it right. He said love is the only rational act. This book is going to tear me up, I already know. And now they're starting to meet every Tuesday to talk about life, and I can already tell where it's going, and I'm terrified, but I'm also like enjoying the experience because I'm also learning so much as well. So, wish me luck.
2 hours later.
Wow. I feel like I want to cry. It was really, really good. It was really good. I've never highlighted so much of a book in my life. Do y'all see how many tabs I have? And it's just full of life lessons. And I was just so moved by the end of it that I did some more research on Mitch and Morrie. Mitch is the student and Morrie is the guy dying, the older gentleman who is a professor. And it turns out Mitch only wrote this book so that he can help his family pay the medical bills for Morrie. And it did so well. Like, this is such a popular book. I didn't even realize how popular it was, but I watched some articles and things like that on it. This was written in the 90s and it still has so many life lessons that apply to us right now. Like, this is one of those books that you can read 1,000 times over and find 1,000 new lessons. And then I watched a video of Morrie, like of him talking. And I just want to cry. He's such a kind, witty, and funny old man, and he deserved better, but he made the most of his situation, and he never self-pitied himself longer than his little morning talks to himself. And there's just so many life lessons. I cannot believe it. It's like to the point where I know that I'm done with this book, but it's not done with me. There's no way I've picked up every single lesson in here from this first round. So I feel like maybe next year I'll read it again just to see where I am in my life, if I applied the rules that I did understand, and if I can learn some new ones along the way. But wow, this is something else. This was incredible. 5 stars immediately. But now I'm gonna go to bed. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Day 2.
Good morning. It is currently 6:30. I'm currently on my way to take Nye to school this morning, but I just wanted to pick the book that we'll be listening to while I'm in the car. I picked This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm not really sure what this is about actually, but I am excited to get started. A lot of people have talked about this book and said how it was like one of their top 10, so I want to see what all the hype is about. It is freezing this morning. I think it's like 50 degrees. All right, put your seatbelt on. Opening credits. I love when they add music. Okay.
Read by Cynthia Farrell and Emily Goose.
I made it back and I'm about halfway through the book at this point, and I kind of understand what's going on. There are two opposing forces that are starting to write letters to each other back and forth, and they're able to transcend time, so it's really interesting. I can't say that I understand every single bit of it because they leave a lot to the imagination, like you kind of have to figure it out, but it is very interesting. I am intrigued and I'm almost like done. I'm at page 129. It's only like 198 pages, so I'll be done pretty soon, but it is really interesting. It's not what I expected, I feel like. But you know what's making it even cooler? Whenever I read, I need to listen to a soundtrack that I believe makes sense for the book. So for this book, because it has to deal with time travel and life in general, I'm listening to the Interstellar soundtrack by Hans Zimmerman, and it is so good. It is the perfect selection for this book. So I really feel like I'm weaving through the threads of time right now, which is really interesting because it just adds an extra layer to the book. This was a wild, wild ride. I don't even know what to say. It almost feels like a Black Mirror episode. It was just so otherworldly, and it was a little hard to stay connected with the storyline. There were like little gaps in between where I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on yet. And then all of a sudden I understand and I'm fully in the story. And the music that I was listening to really helped me like stay in the zone. But overall, the ending did make me tear up a little bit. I didn't like full on cry, but it got to me. And then towards the end, it just was so interesting. It was really beautiful. It almost makes you feel like you probably don't even know what love is compared to this level of love. You know what I mean? It was just really interesting, really good. I had a really fun time reading this, but it was nothing like I expected and nothing like I've ever read before.
The next day.
Day 3, book 3. We are reading Mrs. Dalloway. Welcome to day 4. Today we are reading What Moves the Dead. Have I already started reading? Maybe. And so far it is so good. We are 50 pages in and it is amazing. It literally reminds me of a Tim Burton film. It's incredible. It's very eerie, it's very mysterious, and the language is so cool. It's very witty and like upbeat, but it's also very like spooky. So we love that. But we are actually preparing for our live reading with my Patreon book club. If you ever want to do this, make sure you join below with the Patreon link and then we can read once a month together. Now I'm preparing to do this. This is actually my first one, so I'm a little bit nervous. We did our first book review live last month for our first book and that went really well. That was really cool. That was my first live ever, so that was fun. But now we're integrating like reading once a month together as well, just so that they get a little bit more, and I'm so excited for it. Again, this is my first one. You don't have to read the book club book, but I just feel like it's a great opportunity to spend a little bit more time together. I'm reading this for the next hour. Let me know what you guys are reading in the comments below. I'm gonna set a timer on my phone. I hope everyone enjoys their book. Let me know what you're reading. Hey Tiffany, is everyone ready? First of all, are you in a cozy place? I feel way more comfortable this time than the first time. All right, I'm gonna mute myself and we're gonna start now. It's crazy how fast that hour flew by, but this book is getting so freaking good. I definitely can't wait to finish it. It's starting to get really scary actually. So that's super fun. Thank you guys so much for joining with me tonight. I'll see you guys next month for the same thing. All right, good night everyone. Yay! Our first live went well. Also, this book feels like a 5-star. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was telling the book club that this reads like a Tim Burton film. It literally feels like The Corpse Bride. It is so freaking good. There's so much detail. It's very eerie and I'm having a grand old time. I'm on page 88 at this point and like stuff finally hit the fan. Like finally things are going down and it is crazy. But the thing is, the buildup was so enjoyable because eerie little things started to happen. If you're not familiar with the story, this is actually a rendition of one of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, The Fall of the House of Usher. So this soldier is coming back to this area to visit one of his friends who's gotten sick, deathly sick. And he goes and visits the house and he stays there for a few days. And as he stays there, he notices weird things around the property. Like the hares, the rabbits on the property, they don't act correctly. There seems to be an abundance of like different fungi growing on the property that's having weird effects on the animals as well as the people. And you slowly but surely see what happens and how it affects everyone and what happens to him mentally. And so far, it is so good. This is written so well. This is my first book by this author and it's like so incredible that I have to read her backlist. I absolutely have to. So I'm having a grand old time. I think this is one of the most enjoyable books out of this series so far.
24 hours later.
You know what's interesting? I didn't like Normal People by Sally Rooney, and it pretty much has the same premise as in this book. In Normal People, it follows two kids who are not in love, but they're like romantically involved, and they end up being in each other's lives throughout most of their adolescence and their adulthood, young adulthood. And I think that's kind of the premise of Shopgirl as well, just a different take. So it follows Mirabelle and her dating excursions. So she dates this young guy, then she dates this older guy, and she's trying to find love not only within herself but also romantically. And it literally has no plot. It's about nothing. And if y'all remember, I did not like Normal People whatsoever. I thought it was such a waste of paper. Honestly, that was my genuine reaction at first. But this book is very similar to that, and all of a sudden I like it in this book. Now, this isn't like feeling like a 4-star or 5-star read. It honestly feels like a 3-star, but I'm enjoying my time. And I can't tell if that's because maybe I'm a more seasoned reader. I've read over 50 books this year already. And when I read Normal People last year, I think I had only read maybe 15 books by then, and that was after taking a hiatus of over 6 years. So I can't tell if it's because I'm reading more and maybe my taste has evolved, or if the writing is better in this. Genuinely, I can't tell, but I'm enjoying it enough. Wow, I can't believe how fast I flew through this book. I still kind of stick to my rating of a 3-star. Nothing spectacular happened in this book, but it was really interesting to see her grow as a person. I didn't necessarily like her much throughout the book, but I also didn't hate her. I just thought that she was making silly decisions, and it was just interesting to see her live her daily life. I can't really tell you what it was about, honestly. It just was about nothing and everything all at once, but it was an interesting enough read.
The very next evening.
Hi, day 6. Today I read Carmilla, and this was so freaking good. It was less than 200 pages, and while I was reading it, I was listening to the audiobook as well, and that was amazing because the audiobook added like inflection and acting, and then this book also has illustrations. So I got the best of like 3 different worlds because I got the reading, I also got the audiobook, and now I have illustrations, and look at how beautiful they were. I rated this book a 5-star. When I was reading it, I literally could not put it down. It's such an interesting take on vampires, and this is the book that Dracula is based off of. So it was really cool to see like the original theory on vampires. It was just really enjoyable, and I had such a good time. And for the last book, I want to read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is the same author that wrote Coraline, and this is supposed to be just as spooky, but just a completely different story. It follows a middle-aged man who goes back to his hometown and visits a house that he hasn't seen since he was a child, and while he's there he reminisces on his childhood and the events that took place at this house. It's all very extraordinary, it's fiction obviously, and it gives you very much Coraline vibes, so I'm very excited to read this. We finally made it to the end. This is the end of day 7, book 7. And this was hard. I am not going to lie to you. This was a lot harder than any challenge I think we've ever done, but I also had a lot of fun. We read some really interesting books. I didn't like all of them, but I definitely found some 5-star reads, which is all I can really ask for. There was a lot of like spooky, eerie adult behavior seen from the lens of a child, and that was really interesting. It seems like a pattern of Neil Gaiman's. So I definitely want to read other books by him because I definitely enjoyed this. It was a little bit outlandish at times, but I think that's the purpose of his books. But there were also like a lot of good gems that I found as well. Like one section here that I highlighted, it says, grown-ups don't look like grown-ups on the inside either. Outside, they're big and thoughtless and they always know what they're doing. But on the inside, they look just like they always have, like they did when they were your age. The truth is, there aren't any grown-ups. Not one in the entire world. Like, you know, stuff like that is just so cool and just like very interesting to try to put yourself in that perspective and to see if that makes sense to you, because as an adult myself, I feel like I definitely still feel like the same child that I did when I was 10 or 15. I just have more knowledge now. So it's interesting to see little thoughts that you have like that written so well in a book, you know? But I definitely enjoyed this. I don't know what I would rate it, but it was a very fun and interesting read. I highly recommend this one. I think out of all of them though, my top favorites out of this entire experience was definitely What Moves the Dead. This was so good. This was so freaking good. I literally felt eerie and chilled like while I was reading it, and I also really enjoyed Carmilla. This one as well was really good. This Is How You Lose the Time War. It's completely unlike anything that I've ever read before, but it was a wild, fun ride. Just really beautiful. I think it allowed me to see love in a completely different light, you know? And definitely Tuesdays with Morrie. I think these 4 here were my favorite. I think I rated all of them 4 or 5 stars, so these were the best. I think the worst, unfortunately, was Mrs. Dalloway for me. It just was so random and I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it and it was so mundane. I think it was because it didn't have much of a plot and I never really knew who was talking until like afterwards. So I always felt like I was playing catch up while I was reading it and it just was annoying to me. This one was just alright too. It wasn't bad. I rated it 3 stars, but it wasn't my favorite. And then this one was really good, but not as good as these other ones. So this was a fun, crazy experience. I don't know when we'll be able to do this next time because it was so hard trying to get all of these books done in 7 days. I just do not have time like that, but I definitely enjoyed it. If you like this challenge and you want me to do more like it, please let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe so that I know that you like it, and I'll try to make more time to do stuff like this. All right, guys, that's enough for me. I love y'all so much, and I'll definitely see you in the next video. Bye. I'm actually so proud of myself. Like 7 books? I know they're relatively small, but wow, 7 books in 7 days is nothing to sneeze at. This is insane. High five.